The coldest night of the season is upon us.
I'm mapping out how temperatures drop town by town and the hard freeze you'll feel.
Then a local community is in shock after a man is shot and killed in an apartment complex. A live report on scene with what we know so far. Then a mother accused of leaving her 6-week-old baby in a cold car. What else she's accused of doing, plus what our tests found about how quickly temperatures can fall without the heat on. We are staying on top of that developing news in Durham. Police still at an apartment complex on Birtland Avenue. Here is a look from the scene. We're told a man was shot and killed there. Thanks for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Ashley Rowe.
And I'm Dan Haggerty. Sky 5, as you can see, was over that scene this afternoon. The investigation still underway there tonight. WRAL's Julian Grace joining us live from that scene. You've been there for a bit, Julian. Any word what led up to this shooting?
No, we don't know that, Dan, but I can tell you we have been out here 4 hours and counting, and detectives knew they would be out here for the long haul. That's why they have the mobile command unit out here. That mobile command unit showed up here, I want to say in about the 3 o'clock hour. So let me walk you through on what we know at this hour. This all unfolded around about 3 o'clock when that call for help came in. When officers arrived, they found a man who had been shot, and then it was later determined that he died. Now, we don't know the circumstances around the man's death. What caused this? We asked those questions, and we're still waiting for an update from Durham Police Department, but they did tell us one man is dead. As far as residents in this community are concerned, they are talking about what happened here. Many want to know more information. One man I talked with says he moved out here about a year ago, and he hasn't noticed any problems. He says it's a quiet, easygoing neighborhood. That is why he is so surprised when he came outside and he saw this. We still have more questions to ask the Durham Police Department, and we will continue to ask those questions. Coming up all new tonight at 10 and 11, we speak with one resident and he shares his thoughts about all of this. For now, reporting live in Durham, Julian Grace, WRAL News.
All right, you notice Julian was bundled up. So is Kat Campbell. Both of them are outside, I have to admit. I've been in between shows wearing my winter jacket around the building. No one said I'm tough. It's just you know how it is in here, Kat. They keep the temps low. Not as low as they will be outside tonight, though, dipping into the 20s.
Yes, and the latest reading at RDU, 33.8 degrees tonight, the coldest night of the season. I had to be out here experiencing it in downtown Cary with a festive look. So let's take a look at the forecast for tonight. I want to show you we're forecasting 22 degrees, and that would be the coldest night that we have seen since January in our area. The last time we experienced this was January 2nd in 2024 of this year. So it's really going to be cold out there tonight. Some teens on the map, 22 Raleigh, teens in our northern counties. We could even be in the teens in the Sand Hills tonight. And we're expecting temperatures to dip down to about 20 degrees closer to Goldsboro and Clinton as well. Now, the Sand Hills, those are the areas that got to see some snow last night. Taking a live look back out here in Cary, this snowflake is about as close as we've gotten in the Triangle in over 1,000 days. We've got another round of Arctic air on the way later this week, though, and I'm tracking when that arrives coming up.
Okay, Kat, we'll talk to you soon. Several Wake County schools had to dismiss early today because their buildings didn't have any heat. Look at this map. 7 schools had issues with their heating systems, 6 elementary schools and Wake STEM Early College. All the students were dismissed before noon. 2 other schools had heat problems yesterday, and the district made repairs. But we've seen this before with AC in the summer. Clearly, the HVAC systems need some upgrades. And as it so happens, the Wake County School Board is meeting right now talking about their budget. WRAL's Aaron Thomas joins us live outside that meeting. Aaron, are HVAC systems on the to-do list here?
Yeah, just to quote the person who runs the district's facilities and operations here, he said, quote, "We had all hands on deck today," definitely referring to those 7 schools that were impacted just today alone. In fact, we got video of Carpenter Elementary. We got video of that school just shortly after students were dismissed for the day. As you can imagine, when this happens, these early dismissals happen, it puts a strain and leaves families in a scramble. Some people having to leave work early, and then you have to wonder what happens to the children when it comes to childcare. Earlier this year, WRAL reported on the district being more than $214 million behind in making HVAC repairs. At this point, preventative maintenance is really the best option for the district right now. So when we spoke to Mark Strickland, he's the director of facilities and operations in this district, he says what they want to do in the meantime is they want to run all that heat overnight. So if there is an issue when students and staff return to the campus, that they're not starting the school day off in the cold.
I get that. Hey, one of the main focuses tonight is the funding gaps that school leaders need to address. How could these gaps impact families?
Yeah, so, they really don't want this to impact any families at all. But, this is just the reality at this point. And so the school district says that they are currently going to be dealing with a more than $3 million shortfall for the remainder of the school year. That number one driver at this point is child nutrition services. So they're talking about labor costs as well as the cost of food. That's the biggest driver right now. Then you have pandemic era funds. They're no longer available. So what the district has to do as an option, they can also dip into some of the reserve funds. But how do you find that balance between dipping into some of the reserve funds but not depleting them completely? Let's also not forget that the district is going to be opening up 4 brand new schools tomorrow. So 3 elementary schools as well as a high school. So you have to focus on those operating costs. We're going to be diving a little bit more right now. This is just one of several items on discussion on this jam-packed agenda. Of course, we'll have a live update beginning at 10 on Fox 50. Ashley?
Well, leaders have their work cut out for them, but first and foremost, let's just make sure that kids can actually go to school and learn in a warm building. Aaron, thank you.
A Raleigh mom is accused of leaving her 6-week-old baby alone in a car in the middle of this bitter cold weather. Investigators say that woman left the baby there while she went to work at McDonald's. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan found out the abuse didn't stop there.
I spoke to a physician who said if you're in negative 50 degrees, hypothermia would set in a matter of seconds. But on a 40-degree day like the one we had today, hypothermia could take hours to set in for an adult, much less for a little 6-week-old baby. It was in the parking lot of McDonald's in downtown Raleigh that police say a mother left her 6-week-old baby in the car in the cold. Warrants say it was unrestrained in the back seat while the vehicle wasn't running, while the defendant entered her place of work to begin her shift. This is 21-year-old Nakia Jones, charged yesterday for the incident that happened on November 20th. Police say the temperature when the baby was found was around 40 degrees.
Mild hypothermia, you're going to start to see increased heart rate.
Dr. Ryan Lamb with UNC Rec says on a 40-degree day, it would take hours for hypothermia to set in, but for a 6-week-old baby, it would be even less.
They cannot regulate their temperature as well, and they also have a lot more body surface area.
We wanted to see how cold a car would get on a 40-degree day. So if we look at the current temperature, just turning the car off inside this vehicle, it's hovering around 64 degrees. So we're gonna start our timer to see just how quickly that temperature drops. We're about 2 minutes and 35 seconds into being in the car while it's been turned off, and the temperature has already dropped about 3 degrees. Now we're 15 minutes sitting in the car, no heat, and we've gone down 11 degrees. We're at 53 degrees in about 15 minutes. Dr. Lamb said a 6-week-old baby likely has no way of getting warmer, putting on more clothes or blankets. And that is yet another factor of how fast hypothermia can set in.
Of infants, how big their heads are relative to their body, right? So there's a lot of energy that's going to get lost there unless they're bundled and have a hat on.
Now, Raleigh police won't disclose just exactly how long that baby was in the car or their condition at this time. The mother is currently in jail under a $35,000 bond. In Raleigh, Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News.
Well, North Carolina lawmakers, they are clearly ready to get back to work after the holiday. It's only Tuesday, and they've been keeping awfully busy. They've brought up 2 more state constitutional amendments about voter ID and income tax. Plus, they've got a proposal to change the U.S. Constitution. This is important stuff. We're going to talk about it in depth in about 2 minutes. Stick around. All right, welcome back. Hey, In Depth is back after a long holiday weekend. That's why my suit is fitting so tight. At least it feels that way. Is everybody feeling good? You feeling well rested and recharged and ready to go? No? Makes sense. I can think, though, of exactly 170 people that did hit the ground running this week, leaving Thanksgiving in the dust. Our state lawmakers, they were working hard. Maybe you got some alerts on your phone or read the headlines. They are busy over at the state capitol. Senate Democrats picked a new minority leader. Senate Republicans overrode the veto on a bill combining 2 power shifts with some storm relief. They also proposed 2 new state constitutional amendments and passed a bill calling for changes to the OG, the United States Constitution. All right, lots to unpack here. It's just Wednesday, guys. It's not Wednesday, it's Tuesday. Slow things down. So there are probably still some leftover turkey, maybe some mashed potatoes in the fridge, and these guys are busy working. But the hustle does make sense, especially for Republicans. You see, come January, they lose their supermajority in the House. That's a big deal for the future of their agenda. So they're speeding things up a bit. We talked a lot about the bill to shift power away from newly elected Democrats. Those changes are tucked into a bill about storm relief in the mountains. If you missed the segment, you can go to WRAL.com or WRAL YouTube page, and you can watch that story right now. Instead, let's talk about these new proposed changes, 3 of them. You probably know that North Carolina voters just approved an amendment in last month's election. All right, one last shameless plug. We did a segment on that too. It's on the YouTube page. You know what to do. Anyhow, look, you should check it out. It is important because there could be more amendments for you to vote on in the 2026 election. One that sets a cap for income tax. Another solidifies voter ID requirements. And there's a third proposal that deals with overhauling the U.S. Constitution. Now, you don't get a vote on that one, but we're going to unpack all 3 of these ideas. First, a new cap on income tax. See, right now, the income tax rate in North Carolina is 4.5%. Lawmakers can raise it, but not any higher than 7%. That's the current ceiling. And that's actually kind of a new thing. For years, the ceiling, the limit was 10%. But in 2018, lawmakers put up an amendment on the ballot, lowering it to 7%. Voters liked it. They gave it the thumbs up. So it worked before. Why not try it again? Setting the limit now at 5% instead of 7%. Kind of means that the current rate of 4.5% doesn't have much higher to go, does it? Republicans argue that cutting taxes will attract business and that can drive revenue. Plus, the state would be further limited from taking all of your hard-earned money. And people like that. Sounds pretty good, right? But not everyone is convinced. The North Carolina Budget and Tax Center found that lowering the income tax could make it harder for our state to provide adequate public services and jeopardize our credit rating. They also found that it could, quote, increase pressure on local governments that are likely to have few options beyond raising property taxes. So they're not getting the taxes from the income, but they're still going to want the money. Where are they going to get it? Property taxes. Amendment number 2 is cementing voter ID requirements. I got a good email about this topic from Tom. Tom wrote in and said, we voted on voter ID 8 years ago. Why did it take so long to start? So technically, Tom, it was 6 years ago, but you make a good point. Yes, we did vote it in as a constitutional amendment. And yeah, this year was the first time that voter ID was actually enforced. And that's because the whole thing has been tied up in the courts for years, and the fight isn't over. Republicans are betting if North Carolinians pass another amendment confirming voter ID, that those legal challenges will dry up. They'll be nearly impossible and they'll go away. All right, let's move on to the third and most aggressive idea, a new U.S. Constitutional Convention. It would involve bringing lawmakers together to discuss changes to the United States Constitution, not the state constitution, the big one, the OG, the original, the one they put together in 1787 at that convention. And it's been 200 plus years since, and we haven't held another one. Sure, lawmakers have passed amendments, you know that, but they never did a wholesale revamp of the original document. Now, for this to happen, 34 states have to call for it to happen. And so far, 20 are on board, all in the last 10 years. This is kind of a new movement. North Carolina just joined that club this week. And pretty much every other state is at least discussing it. Everybody's talking about this. But here's the thing. Even if the 34 states did call for a convention, they called for a forum and changes to the Constitution, they would still need some other states to agree to those changes. 38 states, not 34, would have to approve the changes. So at least 4 states would need to be convinced. They need to look at the ideas and say, yeah, I guess that does seem like a good plan. The Republicans in favor of this say it's a tactic to push for things like term limits and for balancing the budget. But if this actually happened, there's nothing stopping lawmakers from doing pretty much anything, from doing a whole lot more. Let me know what you think about this. Email dan@WRAL.com. Where do you stand on these ideas? Do you think a constitutional convention, another one, is a good idea? What about capping income taxes? Let's think critically. Let's come up with some interesting holes in the theories here and talk about all of it and have a bit of a conversation like we always do. So tell me what is on your mind, and we'll go in depth.
Super interesting. Okay, so we didn't quite get an inch. You could definitely see snow on the ground. Like, it's pretty, right? Check it out. This is Pinehurst. Got a little dusting of snow, especially at the golf course. If that's not impressive enough for you, how about the North Carolina Zoo in Asheboro? Some animals were exploring it, others were trying to avoid it. That area did get over an inch of snow, and that was the most in the state. That cat likes it. Kat, you have been out in the cold all afternoon in downtown Cary. No snow there, but plenty of lights and beautiful decor to make it feel festive.
Absolutely. And this warms up the forecast, I felt like, when you get a pretty view of all of these lights here in downtown Cary. It's been a cold night. Temperatures here right now, 30.2 degrees. Many of us already below freezing. So let's take a look at the numbers tonight. It is pretty chilly out there. I want to show you a closer look. 34 at RDU at the moment, 30 degrees in Roxborough, 36 degrees in Fayetteville. No matter where you are, it's chilly. The good news is that the wind will lighten up tonight. So the wind chill isn't going to be as much of an issue. Let's take a look at our WRAL Weather Watcher picture today. This one from Karen Horner. She got to see some of the snow, and boy, isn't it beautiful. Her little miniature snow person there that she made. Very creative. Not much snow, so I know that took a lot of effort. If you've got a picture of the snow, share it with us on WRAL.com/weatherwatchers. We would love to see your photos. Of course, we appreciate all the pictures that you sent us. 29 degrees right now in Rocky Mount, already in the 20s. Wow. 34 in Durham and Raleigh. We are lighting up all 3 of those towers that you see there tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And we hope that you'll join us in person for the tower lightings. Go to WRAL.com and search tower lighting to learn a little bit more about that. Tomorrow we are back in the 50s. Despite it being the coldest start in the morning at 22 tomorrow morning, we're at 51 during the afternoon, 55 Thursday afternoon. A little bit milder. This is why. See that wind out of the south? That warms us up briefly before this next Arctic cold front moves in, and that sends temperatures crashing back down. Just 43 degrees again for the high on Friday. So enjoy those 50s while you can. I know it's only Tuesday. We've got a lot going on this weekend, a lot of holiday parties and things like that. So I did want to give you an early look at your weekend. 43 Friday, 49 Saturday. Bundle up those days. Sunday should be the milder day at 57. We do have some warmer days on our 7-day forecast. Those of you who are not a fan of the cold, we've got 60s next Monday and Tuesday. That could come with some unsettled weather, a lot of uncertainty in terms of rain chances in the forecast longer range. But up until then, it's cold and it's dry. No snow chances with this next bout of Arctic air on the way. Thursday is going to be awfully windy, so a heads up. Hold on to your hats. Really make sure you secure those holiday outdoor decorations Thursday, because the wind will be pretty strong with that next round of Arctic air on the way. Out here in downtown Cary tonight, though, we have been dealing with the cold. As long as you're properly dressed for it, it's not too bad. But I've got my gloves, my hat, my turtleneck, and my jacket, and I'm good to go out here tonight. It's so beautiful. It's worth it. Come out here and see it. Maybe next week if you're a fan of some of the warmer weather, though.
There you go. Exactly. Kat, you are doing a great job of teaching us exactly what we need to be wearing tomorrow, because both Dan and I are going to be out for the tower lighting events. So thank you for giving us a bit of a primer.
We've been paying close attention. Yeah. Thanks, Kat. Hey, don't go anywhere. We have one last thing to talk about right after this short break. Another reminder for you, and I know everybody gets involved really great with this every year. Please help make the holidays warmer and brighter for our neighbors, the kids in need in this community with the WRAL Coach for the Children campaign. You can help right now. Scan the QR code on your screen to give any amount.
Yeah, you can help WRAL and the Salvation Army make a positive difference for local children in need. Giving a little can really help a lot, and together we can make the holiday season warmer and happier for local children in need.
One last thing before we go tonight, and it's a reminder that life and time with family is very precious.
Yeah, in the most horrible circumstances, like being held hostage by Hamas for more than 400 days, family has proven to be a beacon of hope. We've talked a lot about Keith Siegel here at 7 o'clock. We talked to his wife, Aviva, who was also held captive for almost 2 months. She told us their family is desperate for Keith to come home, especially his mother. Here's a clip from our interview earlier this year.
I just want to tell everybody that Keith's mom is 97 years old, and he's waiting to come home and give her a hug, and she's waiting for him. And I pray every day that Keith will come home and he'll be able to come home to North Carolina to hug his mom.
So today we have learned, sadly, that hug will never happen. Today we learned that Keith's mother has died while waiting for her son to be released from captivity.
His daughter posted on Facebook, "Dad won't be able to stand with us tomorrow at the cemetery. It won't be possible to say goodbye to the woman who raised him and loved him all his life." The war continues in Gaza. People die there every day, and Keith is one of at least 100 hostages still being held captive.
He wasn't able to say goodbye to his mother. So as we come off this Thanksgiving weekend back into the throes of everyday life, let the Siegel story, I guess, be a reminder to so many people to be grateful for the loved ones in our life and for the freedoms that we have.
Yeah, great point. Thank you for watching WRAL News at 7. Our next newscast is at 10 on Fox 50 and 11 on WRAL. Have a good night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.